let's do this. Let's talk a little bit about kind of recruiting and hiring, since I know that's been a big topic that's come up, just all across the board over the last couple of weeks. And then if we've got a little extra time, Brian, we can kind of go into some other topics and such that maybe you've kind of run into over the last week or two. But let's start there. Andy, why don't you kick us off with kind of some thoughts around recruiting, hiring, challenges you're seeing with business owners out there, and how we can kind of foster a discussion around this.
Let's start with this question instead. Yes, I can give you all kinds of data. Who here's read the newspaper, watched the news, listened to all the people that talk about they haven't been able to hire? Anybody? No. All right, how many people have driven or went to a restaurant that there's a hiring sign on it? How many people drive down the street and see 300 I'm hiring signs everywhere? They're everywhere right now. So one of the critical drivers that we're seeing, and just so you all know, this isn't just solely my idea. I would love to take credit, but as you know, we have over 1,000 coaches in 82 countries, and these are things that have been a huge part of our forum over the last several weeks. So recruitment is so interesting right now because of a lot of variables. And let's just go with human element right now, right? Some need a job, some don't need a job, some don't want to get hired, it doesn't matter. Here is one of the tried and true ways that we are finding recruitment to work. So when we talk about recruitment, think about it in two terms. First thing about recruitment is quality people. And the second thing about recruitment is, how do we get them in our sphere of influence or within our organization, right? So when we look at that, we've boiled it down to this strategy is working, period. So recruitment, employees driving other recruitment through a system. So Tanner, I know you and I've talked about that. Do you remember seeing this forum on how it went?
Sorry, say that again.
Do you remember seeing the posts on this forum? Yes, no, maybe?
Yes.
So think of it like this. All these things are working and they're not working. So recruitment is how do we get people to work for us? But how do we get our employees to work for us also? So what we do, and this is working in the spot because people won't change unless somebody else is speaking about them, right? So we can tell everybody how wonderful our company is, but at the end of the day, it's us. We should think our company is wonderful. But what are our other employees saying about us? What do they think of us? What are they thinking? What are they saying to others within the organization, within the community? So we look at recruitment. You look at one is your current employee, and then we're going to go way over here, and two is your potential employee, right? So what we do is we do a recruitment process like this. Number one, recruits friends, and people they know. So what does that happen? No, it doesn't just mean they're going to have their friends working in the business and they're going to have all these types of shenanigans going on in your industry. But what they're doing is they work there, they're having fun there, they believe in your process. So they're going to send somebody to us based on that. Now, don't get me wrong. Somebody might be looking at getting some money out of this, which we're going to talk about in a minute. And this is my favorite line. They're going to hire their friend's brother's cousin who's a dog walker because they need a job, right? We're not going to do that because we're going to weed them out, right? They're gone. We don't want those people. But what we do is we say, if this person recruits somebody into it, so they've recruited number two, the first thing we do at 120 days, we give them a bonus. Why is it 120 days? Why do you think? Brian, Nafisa, anybody want to jump in on that one?
Because they start to get complacent, maybe to kind of
honeymoon. Perfect, Brian. Honeymoon's over, right? Honeymoon's over. So what we end up finding out is at 120 days is the driving factor. If both employees are in good standings, and I'm just going to use easy numbers, right? So we're going to give employee number one a $50 bonus at 120 days. We reward them for bringing somebody in. Now, we can look at another couple of ways, but because I'm talking about an employee position that could be 12, 14, 16, $18, this is a cash bonus. This isn't attached to their pay stub, which makes everybody have to pay taxes on it. You have to be a little bit above that. Talk to your accountant, find out the best way. The second thing we do is we look at, oh my gosh, they've been here for 120 days. That's 4 months. Now we look at, okay, so what happens at 7 months, right? Are they both still in good standing? Are they both in still good standing? What does good standing mean? Okay, they haven't been rid of. They show up for work on time. They live to our culture. They follow instructions. They're learning. They're helping themselves out. What do we do then? We give this person another $50, right? So now we have that. Now we come to 1 year. Oh my gosh, they're both still in good standing. What do? Oh my gosh, we give this person a $100 bonus. Now I'm using numbers for me. The last client I did this with, this was 500, 500, 1,000. In the next one, because it is, now you look at 36 months. Or 24. I don't care. So now at 24 months, you give this employee another $100. And then you come across here and you give this person $100 for being in good standing for 2 years. Why do you think that drives people to stay? Because it's gratitude, it's perception. Right now, 50-50. Basically, you've got 450, 200, 300, 400. You have $400 invested, right? And you hired, let's say this person's a $15 an hour person, which equals 30-ish K. All you high C's out there, I know it's not perfect, but close enough. But it's 30K a year. So now that person has stayed for 2 years. What does it cost to retrain this person over here?
A lot.
Yeah, 1.5x is what it cost you. So now you have $45,000 for every new employee. So looking at that, is that $400 a good investment? So many business owners only look at this. What do I get? What do I get? So many business owners look at, well, that's $50. Man, I don't know if I don't even get myself $50. The real question is if it costs you 1.5 times every time somebody quits and you have a revolving door, now what does that tell other people that may be looking for a job? Right? The problem is you, me. The problem could be me as a business owner, could be you as a business owner. We have to look at this holistically, and we can't look at it as now. Yeah, people I've been in restaurants, they've had to shut their hours down because they can't find enough help. Okay. I've looked at other places that, I've got a neighbor across the street that works a full-time job during the day, and she loves serving people so much. She works basically I think she's at 24 hours at a local restaurant, and she's damn good. She like $200 a night because she does the work she's supposed to. How do we find employees like that? So we keep looking at it, and we have to stop. The business owners, you and I, we've got to stop looking at the now, which is here. And we've got to start looking at, oh my God, what do I want my business to look like in 2 years? How am I going to keep people for that period of time? Right? Does that make sense to everybody? Because the other big key that everybody keeps missing here, and maybe some of you guys think I'm full of crap and you don't care, and you think I'm stupid, but 68% of your people quit because they perceive you do not care. Statistic analysis, 68%. It's not about money. It's not about time. It is about perception that you don't care about your employees. So, yes, money's working today. Maybe an extra day of PTO. I know there are some businesses that are like, you know what? You've been a really good employee. We've been through a hard time. Let me give you a day of PTO. In fact, why don't we all take Friday off and I'll pay everybody's wages? What does that do? It's like, oh my God, this is wonderful. I got an extra day and I'm getting paid, right? But we have to get their perception to stay with, I want to be here. I want to be at your organization.
So that perception piece is pretty interesting then, because if we take this back to recruiting and actually attracting people into our business and wanting to work with us, that perception from that piece actually plays a bigger role, even though it's kind of the unseen piece. But I would imagine that's got to play a pretty big factor in kind of the long-term cycle of attracting good people to your business.
Going on what Tanner is saying and building on it, like I believe, and I've actually done this, like I believe that you can have pretty much anyone perform, and the root of it all is showing people that you actually care. Showing people that you, like, if you show them that you care before like compensation or anything, like people will go above and beyond what you expect of them for your company. Like I've been running Penny Luck on a bootstrap budget for the longest time, and there's no way in hell I could compete with like other organizations that actually did have money. But I know that a lot of my people stayed and stuck by me because I cared for them, because they knew that I was doing what I could. On top of that, like I actually care about them, you know?
Yeah.
And so our turnaround wasn't that crazy, especially for our industry and what we did. But yes, at the end of the day, it is showing that you care for people. And if you show that you care, you can train anybody to do anything that you want.
Well, and I agree with you there. And that's, this week has been a constant about recruitment. And before we go into recruitment, part of the issue before recruitment is what are your rules of the game? What are your expectations from your people? You can't bring new people into chaos when there's no expectation, when there's no, and I always call rules of the game, and people think this is crazy, but guess what, people? You have to show up for work. That's the first one. You can't just no call, no show. I always used to laugh about that when I was doing speaking for IJAG, seniors in high school, Iowa jobs after graduation. And they were like, well, I just didn't show up. And why is that okay? You know why it's okay? Because their mom or their dad did it and they saw it and thought it was fine. That is I'm a one-hit wonder when it comes to that. Oh, no call, no show? This better be good. Because what we didn't do is we didn't explain it to them on the front side. So rules of the game, right? And it's interesting, if you come backwards here to recruitment, and it's so funny, Tanner brought this up. This was Wednesday night coaching for a client. We start talking about rules of the game. We've got to look at how do you build your organization? So when we talk about recruitment, the 7 keys to a winning team, strong leadership, it's you. It's me. What am I doing to teach? What am I doing to lead? How are you leading your people, right? Common goal. Biggest mistake of any business is common goal is to make money. Now, granted, business owners, we can have that conversation in private. Your employees, you say that, they're going to be like, oh, you're Bernie Madoff. Oh, Enron. Oh, then all of a sudden they start looking at you as you're the guy that runs Goldman Sachs or, Bernie Mac or whatever, not Bernie Mac, sorry, Freddie Mac. But he's a comedian, right?
Yeah,
but you're right. So then we have the common goal. What is that? What are we trying to do? What is the customer experience?
Wait. Can you go back and touch on that? You said common goal, like as a business, is to make money. That's correct. But amongst your culture, that's not how you drive.
Right. Exactly.
Is that what you're saying, or you are saying that?
No, I am exactly. It is about, so when you talk about common goal, I always look at it like this. There's a 3-pronged common goal that has to affect every business. Okay. And believe it or not, it has to start with the customer. What's the experience you want to have with them? And we could sit here and talk about, the owner and the risk and all that stuff. But at the end of the day, strong leadership is taking care of your team. right? At the end of the day, that's your number one customer. The secondary part of it is the team taking care of your client, which is your common goals of what does it look like? What is, and I always tell people this is what is the customer experience that they want, you want to portray? How do you get them to that level? Because at the end of the day, any customer who has bad service tells 10 people. So we have to understand, it's like if you're a air conditioning or mechanical company and you have great service on the front side and your guys go out there and they fix the problem, but they track in grease or they leave a mess. What do those people remember? They don't remember how wonderful the bidding process and the wonderful that people are. They remember the mess.
The devil's
so
in the
common goal is experience.
Yep.
So then we go to rules of the game, and here's where things go sideways for a lot of people. We have become so politically correct in our world today that we forget we have to run a business. So when we set up rules of the game, we can talk about our culture, behaviors that go into what is a rule. Hey, look, you need to be happy and energetic. When you're in front of a customer, they need to know that they are first, and you can't be on your phone or you can't be doing other things. So a rule of the game for a lot of businesses today, your phone needs to stay in your purse, in your pocket, in your locker while you're customer facing forward, right? That's a rule of the game. Some other people, it's so ironic to me today is, guess what? You need to be on time. Now, there's going to be anomalies. You get a flat tire, it snows in Texas. There's going to be stuff that comes up, but we want the rules of the game to be based on what everybody needs. We have rules of the game right now that, hey, you have to take a lunch break. You don't get to, everybody's like, I want to work through the lunch break so I can flex my hours for Friday. And then they complain about self-care. So we had to put a rules of the game of you have to take lunch break. You have to take 2 15-minute breaks a day. End of discussion. Right? Rules of the game are what helps the business move forward. And here's the other thing about rules of the game that I always love is what's your hot button? When I talk to business owners or leaders in an organization and they have a hot button, meaning words, and I always say, well, is it worth making that a rule of the game? So once you get the rules of the game, as we were just discussing, now you can start looking at, oh my gosh, now we can start recruiting. Now we can start bringing people into it because the other 4 areas are all about everybody. So we have game plan. Okay, we have the rules of the game. How are we going to work forward? How are we going to train our people? Right? This is recruitment. But then you have risk taking. I always find it interesting that people are really good about pointing out other people's problems. I am a constant problem myself, so I have to keep remembering that. But in order to learn in business, we have to allow our teammates to make mistakes, right? Make mistakes. Ask them. And so many times today, business owners are asking people, why did you do that? Rather than what got in the way from you doing it the way the process is written, or what got in the way of you doing it the way you were asked? What was I not clear of? Then here's where also it helps in recruitment. And I know some of this is remedial and we've done this before, but 100% inclusion. Just because you have a new employee today doesn't mean these things don't go into effect. You have to treat everyone the same. And it goes back to that cliche of the kids back in the 1960s where they ran through the halls of NASA and this kid runs up to this guy and goes, well, you're just a janitor. And he looks at this kid and goes, yep, and I did my job so everybody else could do my job, their jobs, to put a man on the moon, right? That's part of it. And then my favorite part of it is never-ending learning. And if you look over Tanner's left shoulder, it says, I cannot outperform my level of knowledge or competence, right? You must continually scale up and teach our people. What are we doing to help our people? It goes back to this perception, right? Some people think that, oh my gosh, they're not, why are we having to listen to this speaker? Oh my God, what are we doing this training for? When we do things for our team, it shows them we care about them. That makes sense to everybody? So I'll leave you with this. It's really interesting when we have, especially now, every one of us has forgotten or forgets what it's like to be 20 years old, except for Nafisa. She knows what it's like to be 2021, right? So we have to look at it a little bit differently. We're in such, conscious, unconscious consciousness, right? Or unconscious incompetence, where we just do, right? We forget that everybody behind us hasn't learned the things we know. And when something goes wrong, or we're in a recruitment process, or we're trying to bring people on, being resilient, letting them know you've made this mistake, getting them to say that a mistake's not a problem, right? Getting them to understand, especially today, that if you make a mistake, all we want to do is how do we correct it? We're not going to focus on the problem. We're going to focus on the solution. So I'm watching the clock for Tanner today. It looks like we got a few minutes left. All right, does that make sense? Let's go questions. Let's go concerns. Think I'm full of, baloney or anything like that.
First and foremost, hi, Nafisa. I'm Brian. Nice to meet you.
Two. I'm Nafisa.
Awesome. Sorry, Andy, go ahead.
No, that's perfect. So questions, concerns. I mean, Nafisa, for you, you've been an intern, now you're an employee of ours. When you've worked for other people, has anything that I've said today resonated where you may have not been treated as an equal, or not, maybe not an equal to the owner, but an equal to the employees that are in the building already?
Maybe like a couple of times, like I felt like they were like, sometimes like I felt like they were patronizing me in some ways, by not like assuming that I can't do the task when I clearly can and stuff like that. So that definitely was something that I took issue with.
Love it.
It's like this is,
go ahead. Sorry.
it's like this is when you think of even trying to attract customers or clients, you've got to have the really kind of the product in place that you're going to be providing them, right? This is, I'm almost drawing a line, kind of connecting this same concept. You have to have this framework pulled together in order to go out and actually attract people. And I know we've talked a little bit about marketing to recruit people. How important is it to kind of put that same level of focus on recruiting great people or hiring or attracting great people to your team as it is to attract customers or attract clients? Do we draw a lot of similarities from kind of the marketing process behind actually attracting people to the vision, the mission, what it is that the problem is that we're solving as a business? Thoughts on that, on kind of the marketing behind how we market for team members versus marketing for customers or clients?
Oh, interesting question.
So I think you can create talent. You don't necessarily have to hire it. I think that as long as people are obviously motivated is like one of the core things. Motivated.
Thank you, Brian. Thank you. I love that. That was going to be one of mine. Oh, please say motivated. Please say motivated. Please say motivated.
Your values align, your values as far as like, basic fundamental human values. Political views and perspectives, I don't think have to necessarily align. But as long as everyone knows the mission and the vision, I think you can create leaders. I think you can, nurture greatness in people. Not necessarily hire it. I think a lot of talent out there is overpriced, in my humble opinion. But yeah.
Well, so I think you can, I'll bring this full circle. I love you said motivated. You cannot teach people to be leaders that don't want to be leaders. There's a certain fraction of society that they're okay being followers, and I'm okay having them there, right? But I would be the one caveat is that nurturing leadership is a great thing, but teaching leadership to bring them forward and allowing them to do these other things that go with it is the only way they'll rise. Because here's, at the end of the day, they have to want it, right? I call it a give a shit gene, you call it motivation. But going to the marketing side of it, we are fully available. Hire on will, which is attitude, train skill. Train the skill. Now, if you're a heart surgeon, I don't recommend
Hire
that.
on will, train the skill. I love that.
Yeah. Yeah. If you're a heart surgeon, a dentist, I'm going to say maybe we want to try that with, we have to hire for skill. But in leadership and education and all these things, I mean, it's interesting when you come out of dental school, even the guy that got a C is still a dentist, right? I mean,
yeah.
When they're out of dental school, nobody cares anymore. Even the lawyer who barely passed the bar is still a lawyer. So we must look at people and say, okay, again, back to the people within our organization, who do they know? Who do they know? Yes, there's rules that go into this, but with us doing marketing and always talking about ourselves, we have to have others market for us. We have to have others speak for us. We have to find out, you look at all these organizations that are on national TV ads, why do I work here? Oh, that are hiring, because it's a great place to live and work. One of our longtime clients, who's been with us about 94 months now, that's one of their slogans. It's a great place to live and work. Live in the community, work for the organization. And that's their people saying that, not administration, not the owners. The people came up with the methodology, which leads to good culture.
Yep. I will say that my people basically developed my culture. It just kind of blossomed, which is really cool. So one of the things you're saying is, anyways, I don't want to veer this conversation. Keep going, Andy.
No, you're good. Tanner asked the question. Oh, don't be watching the screen and driving, Sarah. That is not safe.
I'm parked right now. It's okay. I just got in the car. So when I start driving, I will look away, but I wanted to join.
Great. We don't need any more accidents.
Thank you for joining us, Sarah. We're talking about kind of recruiting and hiring and some of the challenges and such that many businesses are facing kind of in that arena right now. And we got a few minutes here before we kind of finish up the call, but I know you haven't been in on most of the conversation, but what immediate kind of thoughts do you have around recruiting, hiring, just kind of in general, and bringing great people onto a team?
It's interesting because all the clients that I work with, both from marketing coaching, marketing consulting, all that, even the website stuff, I'm getting leads lately from people saying they're willing to redo their websites because of hiring. I think a lot of it is more emotional. So if we think DISC, it's more the people side than the tactical side. I mean, most people have the tactical side down. You have your list of your tasks, your opportunities, whatever you need to accomplish. But where I see a lot of people having bigger opportunity to do more is highlighting the people side. So why your culture is different and what makes you different. I mean, most of us are in businesses that we got 50 people in a 100-mile radius that do the same stuff. So what makes you different? And I think a lot of times it tends to be culture. And I've also noticed some technical things. So depending on the platforms you're using, like if you use Indeed or something, I've noticed that Indeed is getting much more like Facebook and Google, where they have algorithms. And so I had a client that had posted a job description. She was getting no applications.
Interesting.
2 changes and she got 7. One of the changes, she thought she did something. Doesn't work. The job title has to be something that's commonly searched, because you got to think about what people type in to find those things. So like instead of a professional assistant, which is what this person had, we changed it to executive assistant, because when we started typing that in, we just did a basic search like a job hunt, and there were tons of them that came up for executive assistant. So what language are people using to find that job? So the title, from what I'm finding needs to be very common and what people are heavily searching. But then the description and all the details in there is where you can write it very, very differently. And the other thing I noticed with Indeed and some of those platforms is as the business posting, I'm at a red light, it's okay. As a business posting, you have to take the time to actually update the business profile. So if you're using Indeed, how many people are on here? Do you guys all use Indeed or do you use something else? Because I don't want to waste your time if you're not using Indeed.
Just keep talking.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, keep rolling.
Okay. The thing with Indeed is I noticed that you have to dig. It's not as easy as your account settings, like setting up your profile on Facebook. You got to dig around. But having the business profile described well, the logo on there. But the bigger thing is reviews. So a lot of people are using the reviews on Indeed because it's such a higher market. These people can shop around. So if you take the time to get some reviews on there about your business from current employees, former employees, and get creative. I noticed that it doesn't actually link to an individual profile. So I'm not saying bullshit, but you can get like this woodworking company I work with. They hired a consultant for HR. She's a friend of mine. She's another business owner I network with. She's doing a lot with consulting stuff for them for HR. So she knows their business. So she's not technically an employee, but she is. She's being subcontracted. So she could go leave a review as well and attest to the company's culture and how they function and all those kind of things. So those reviews are really important. I noticed once we had a couple of those posted, that started increasing the number of applications coming through as well. So I think those are probably the big things is you know, the content, making sure you get enough people stuff in there for the disc profile you want to hire, and wherever you're posting it, making sure that you've got all the company information and reviews filled out. That seems to help a lot.
Awesome. That is great information. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, and I mean, that's where it goes right into kind of that front end piece of how we, you know, recruit and attract the right people in. Obviously, you know, the first part of this conversation today was around, do we have the things in place internally to attract people with rules to the game and culture and all of that? But I think this understanding how to utilize the platforms and attracting from kind of the visual aspect is important too. I know that's something that I had heard a lot of as well, and it really came down to what keywords are we utilizing, especially in Indeed, things like that. What exactly, to what you said before, what is the title? Because what are people actually searching for? You may want to call your business development, you know, director of I don't know, business relations, or I don't know, something like that, but that may not be what people are looking for. That doesn't mean you can't hire them and give them a different title, but when you're posting it, that does actually play a factor with how these services are developing at this point in time.
Yeah. So Andy, how are you going to help me attract Jeff Bezos to hire him to help me buy his company and then be my mentor?
Yeah, that's going to be that's going to be a little bit more difficult than a hiring ad.
Andy, whether you believe you can or you believe you can't, you are right.
I totally agree with you there, but you asked me how I was going to do it today, and I don't have the foggiest right now. That's just yeah, exactly. Our knowledge is going to have to lift quite a bit to get in front of him.
You got to level that up first.
You got to level up.
Yeah, that man right there is moving in the right direction.
I love it. I love it.
Awesome. Well, I know we're kind of coming up on the 9:45 mark where we typically kind of start to shut this down. Any kind of final thoughts or questions? I know, Brian, we had a chance to kind of review some ideas and such around the call, kind of moving forward and such, but I appreciate all of the feedback so far. Kind of appreciate continuing to move this thing forward. I know there was a handful of folks that were unable to attend that were hoping to attend this morning. So we'll continue to do these every Friday. Really come as you can, invite anyone that you think would get value out of this. Of course, as always, there's no sales pitch. There's nothing else that we're trying to do other than just build this community and ensure that you all have a network of folks where we can be a little bit vulnerable. We can be non-judgmental to kind of where you're at in business today and continue to solve challenges to make sure that everybody moves forward together. And that's really at the end of the day what we're trying to do here. So any final parting thoughts as we wrap up the conversation today?
No,
I love
actually,
this. I think
yeah.
it's super fun.
Sarah, what's the name of the woodworking company that you work with?
So there's actually multiple. The one I was talking about is called MCS Woodworking.
Are they in
So M is
Texas?
in Mary, C is in cat, S is in Sam.
Are they in Texas?
No, they're in Wisconsin.
Okay.
Sorry, I'm not local, but I'll come
No
visit you.
worries, no worries at all. Thinking maybe I could outsource. All good.
Love it.
If you need an introduction, tell me if I can. Tell me again what you do.
I'm in shoes. I'm in the shoe business. But I have some Humvee shops that I did all the woodworking for. And I have to redo it. Andy keeps telling me to shut up and put up with what I've got.
That
But
is not what I
I
said.
strongly disagree. Yeah, I gotta get a lot of wood redone. So that's why I was asking.
Even though MCS Woodworking is in Wisconsin, and you can be honest with me, if not, it's cool. But would it be helpful if I introduced you to them to talk to them about the situation and see what they think, how they would handle it? They're not going to come work in Texas. I'll tell you that. They're too local, but.
Probably not. I know what I need to do.
Okay.
But I do appreciate it. What's that?
If you know what you need to do, what's stopping you?
Just time, opportunity. I mean, I've got
Time.
yeah.
Time.
Like what direction do I go in? Yeah.
So what else can you offload to somebody else?
What's that?
What else can you offload to somebody else to make the time?
As of right now, I wish I could offload everything and focus on working on the business, but I have to do pretty much everything. And one of the things that I do need to start looking at is who I'm going to hire next to help me do that. And that's why this conversation is phenomenal.
That's exciting.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Shoot me a message. I'm happy to chat with you.
What's that? I didn't hear you.
Sorry, if you need some help, shoot me a message. I'm happy to chat with you about it.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Will do.
Cool. Well, I'm going to wrap it up here now. We are at the 45-minute mark. Thank you for joining. Pass this on as much as you can, regardless of people are utilizing things like Facebook and whatnot and joining that piece of it. I know a lot of us still will utilize Zoom. That's why we made this an open call. So invite anyone that you think will get value to continue to build out this community, and we'll continue to grow as we go here. And Sarah, thank you for joining. Even though it was a little bit later and such today, your contributions were very timely and perfect for where we're at in the conversation. So it worked out really well. So thank you. We will hopefully see all of you back here again next week on Friday for our next Thrive to Action community call.
Awesome. Awesome. Thanks you from me too. We'll see you soon.
Bye, guys.